The Cowboys' initial 53-man roster is out. We will break that down here in just a second. Before we do, you guys should subscribe if you haven't already, because the Cowboys are not done making moves. More are to come in the not-too-distant future. Hit that sub button if you haven't already, youtube.com/CowboysTV. Before we get to the cuts, a trade went down about a half hour before cuts were due. Peyton Hendershot, who had been reportedly going to be waived by Dallas, they end up finding a trade partner. The Chiefs swoop in, giving up a 2026 7th-round pick. That pick conveys to Dallas if he is on the 53-man roster for 5 games or on the active 46/48-man roster for 3 games this season. So those are the conditions on that front. Dallas was going to cut him. A good job by the front office to get something back. All right, players waived. 5 names we mentioned yesterday. Nate Peat, Deontay Burnett, Cam Johnson, Alec Holler, Cohl Cabral. A couple linebackers, Jason Johnson, Willie Harvey Jr. was one of the surprises yesterday. Josh DeBerry, Eric Scott. We'll see if the Commanders claim him. Brock Mogensen, keep an eye out for him on the practice squad, was one of the ones that came out today. Josh Ball did not make the Cowboys roster, and what I find a bit of a surprise from the on-field play, Matt Waletzko getting the nod over him. He could be claimed. Dakoda Shepley is actually a cut player. He goes straight to being able to sign wherever he wants. I put him in the wrong spot. Happens. Malik Davis does not make the roster. He might have been your 54th player on the team right now. Or I guess technically 55. I'll explain why in a little bit. Snoop Conner gets cut. No surprise there. Racey McMath, Kelvin Harmon, Jalen Cropper don't make the cut at wide receiver. Princeton Fant. Justin Rogers as well. Several players on that list you'd like to find a way to get down to the practice squad. We'll see how waivers go. Those run at noon Eastern tomorrow. Denzel Daxon is going to be an International Player Pathway program. Josh Butler, Kemon Hall. He had played pretty good, but then missed the final preseason game with an injury. Amani Johnson. And then also Julius Wood. And this is probably the one I think you're going to be most worried about getting claimed. In general, most of the guys don't get claimed off of waivers. That's how it typically works. Wood was damn impressive in the preseason, so that might be your Isaiah Land exception that we'll have to sweat out a little bit. I'd still bet he does, though. But would you have cut Julius Wood? Or would you have cut, like a tight end? We'll get to here in a little bit. It's the pinned comment on today's video, so take advantage of a potential YouTube ad. Type in Y for yes, N for no at the pinned comment. From yesterday, 3 players waived injured. They'll revert to IR once they clear waivers tomorrow. If they clear waivers, they probably will. David Durden, Liam Fehoko, and Darrell Johnson. Some veterans who were cut. These guys can sign wherever, whenever they want. And these are prime practice squad candidates if Dallas wants them. Tyron Billy Johnson, Albert Huggins, Damian Wilson, Carl Lawson as well. Seems like he wasn't as ready as the Cowboys had hoped for. Could be a practice squad player. Turns out Dallas didn't have any guarantees in his contract. That's sizable. A couple other veterans here. Darius Harris and Nick Vigil also released by the Dallas Cowboys. All 3 guys are also prime practice squad candidates because they don't have to go through waivers and they can be potentially even call-ups, game day call-ups as well. So those are the cuts. Players all released. Some injured moves coming here in a second. Who is the most surprising roster cut for you this year? Drop that player name for me in the comments of today's show. Now, 1, maybe 2 players put on IR to return. Deron Bland, who has already been designated to return. That's not a surprise. He's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks with that stress fracture in his foot. He'll be back as soon as week 4. I'm curious what happens with Nathan Thomas because he was not announced as a designated to return option. But I think by putting him on here, they have the ability to decide that they want to do that later on. That's how I think the rule works. Emphasis on think. But it's not a guarantee necessarily. At minimum, he's going to spend some time on IR. There is another player they'll probably put on IR when they do their roster gymnastics. More on that in a minute. But the Cowboys roster for now is set at 53 players. And more moves not just could be coming, more moves will be coming. So let's break down who made the roster. 3 quarterbacks. Nothing surprising here. Dak Prescott makes it. Cooper Rush makes it. Trey Lance makes it. That was never really in doubt. Cowboys once again rostering 3 QBs. The rest of the batch to come, but first, a quick word from today's sponsor, GameTime. GameTime has a brand new feature. It's called GameTime Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier, or concerts or comedy, theater, whatever. It filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through what could be thousands of tickets. Just curation to make it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time's going to credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app today, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create your account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. It's game time. That's what time it is. Download Game Time today. Link will be in the comments and the description of today's show. Cowboys carrying 3.5 running backs. Ezekiel Elliott, Rico Dowdle, and Deuce Vaughn all make the Dallas Cowboys roster. That means, obviously, you mentioned Malik Davis. Our small king gets to ride one more time. I don't necessarily think that the Cowboys are done looking at the running back market. We haven't seen the full initial cuts list. We'll see who's out there. Obviously, Dalvin Cook has a visit. He could be a practice squad candidate for you. That could be a viable option. But I want you guys to name a player that's a free agent, that got cut, that could be a trade chip even still. Name a player you want the Cowboys to add. Let me know in the comments of today's show. Without fail, every year, the Cowboys do some semblance of weird roster gymnastics. And they done did it again. CeeDee Lamb is not technically on the Cowboys' 53-man roster. Having only just signed his extension after his holdout, he's actually been put on the exempt list, buying him some more time to get acclimated, whatever. This does happen in the NFL. He'll be on it tomorrow, Thursday, whenever it ends up being. And then they will put somebody else probably on IR to make room for him. More on that in a little bit. But for the time being, it's also but not CeeDee Lamb. Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, Kevontae Turpin, Jalen Brooks, and Ryan Flournoy makes the roster as wide receiver 6. Well, I guess to be wide receiver 6. Tight ends are 4. They did keep 4. Jake Ferguson, Luke Schoonmaker, John Stevens Jr., and then Brevin Spann-Ford is the 4th. And I thought they might only carry 3. They chose to carry 4 in the end. All right, offensive line depth chart. Nathan Thomas obviously is going to go on, is on IR. Bostic was already put on IR. He cannot come back. Chuma Adoga was not placed on IR. I think this is going to be some roster gymnastics because you only put 2 guys on IR to start and not have to carry them through the season, day 1, and then put them on IR with the weird gymnastic stuff. So I assume Cowboys will put Adoga on IR at some point tomorrow, late afternoon tomorrow or Thursday, whenever, and put Lamb back on the active roster. Guyton, Tyler Smith, Cooper Beebe, Zach Martin, Terrence Steele, Awesome Richards, probably going to be your day 1 backup at left tackle. Brock Hoffman, TJ Bass, Matt Waletzko beats out Josh Ball. Kind of surprised by that one. I think the Cowboys decided 2 years of Matt Waletzko was more valuable than 1 year of Josh Ball. Defensive line only carrying 4 players. Osa Odigizua, Mozzie Smith, Jordan Phillips, and then only technically signed today, Linval Joseph, which is kind of crazy to think about. Now, I want you guys to rate this Cowboys roster Madden style. Scale it for me from 1 to 99. That's how the Madden roster scale works, after all. So drop that rating for me in the comments of today's show. Pass rushers, Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Marshawn Nealand, Chauncey Golston. Surprise! Tyrus Wheat. This is back-to-back years, by the way, that Tyrus Wheat's been your surprise player added to the roster or sticks around on the roster. So good for him. I think he's going to be a cool. I think Bones Fossil loves him on special teams. That's what that tells me. Sam Williams obviously out for the year on IR. Al-Quadin Muhammad will spend 1 game on the suspended list, and then the Cowboys have to make a decision about whether or not to keep him or not. So have to TBD that one and monitor what happens with Muhammad after week 1. Linebackers, 5, but at least it's 5 actual linebackers this year. DeMarvion Overshown, Eric Kendricks, Damone Clark, Buddy Johnson, and Maurice Leafau. I think this actually probably bodes decently well for the. I think there's been some concerns about Overshown and Clark's health, but if they'd carried 6, I might have been a little bit worried on that front there. But 5 linebackers, 5 actual linebackers, 7 kind of corners because Deron Bland's on IR, and then C.J. Goodwin is a special team, but he made it again. They all Bones Fossil loves him. Trayvon Diggs, Jordan Lewis, Kalen Carson, Andrew Booth, Izzy Mukwamu makes the roster. At safety, Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson, Wanye Thomas, Marquise Bell. Cowboys carrying 4. Did not have room for Julius Wood. We'll sweat that one out noon tomorrow. Special teams, Brandon Aubrey, Brian Anger, Trent Sig. I don't know who your third-string punt returner is. Also, quick aside, I might bring this up on a future show. Mike McCarthy made an interesting comment mentioning CeeDee Lamb as a returner. I don't think they'd put him on returns. But Bones Fossil could get weird with it. One quick note before we go. It's a tough day for a lot of NFL players. It sucks. You're told you're not good enough at the sport you've been so good for so long. Wish them the best of luck. I have no ill will for almost any of them, outside of maybe some personal issues I have with Josh Ball. Type good luck in the comments section to wish them luck as they look for their next spot, which could very well be back with the Cowboys practice squad.